Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. This is going to be my ban list predictions for the next upcoming ban list, which may be October of this year. So let's go and kick it off right at the start with things that have potential to be unbanned, and also things that I think a lot of players want to see unbanned, at least via just the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I'm also going to be taking into consideration, as a heads up, the new Yu-Gi-Oh Tin of Ancient Battles, as well as using out the Yu-Gi-Oh Scope website to see kind of what are the top decks right now. If you're wondering what the top decks are, there they are: Salamangreat, Sky Striker, Tri Brigade, Rocket, Guard Dragon, and Prank Kids. And there's also like Virtual World, Tri Brigade, Zodiac. There's like variants of certain other decks, but for the most part, those are the most popular decks as far as like win-loss ratios and like what's being played. So I'm factoring that in as well. So first off, starting with the unbanned section over here. Now, some of these might go to 1, some could be obviously unbanned at multiple, because if you put Grass at 1, that's absolutely crazy. If they open up with it, it's insane. If they don't, then well, yeah, it's part of the deck though. So starting off, every ban list has to have Max C, and obviously with newer cards coming out into the game, this could be a card that you guys can actually stop, but with Called, we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But how do you guys feel about Max C coming back into the game? I feel like if it had some sort of like errata at least, and I'm not a fan of erratas in general, but it should say maybe that you cannot like control any special summon monsters if you activate this, or for the next like few turns or something like that. So you can't just like, your opponent goes first turn, you do that, and the next turn you special summon a bunch because you locked them out. So it would be interesting to see if they do happen to pull off an errata with Max C, but like because of the OCG, they've had this card at multiple for so long, and everyone's playing an OCG, but it kind of would slow down the game a little bit for some other decks potentially. I've also kept on hearing about some of the Dragon Rulers coming back. People would love to see them come back, and honestly, if you guys have tried like full power Dragon Rulers versus today's meta, they absolutely just have no chance at all. The reason why is just because the amount of monster negations that just exist in the game, and on top of that, what are you going to do? Go into Big Eye? I think Blaster, if any of the Dragon Rulers could come back, that has like a pretty decent effect too. He has, you know, a little bit of potential. With Grass, this goes the same thing with like, you can, if you open up with it, it's absolutely amazing, but it's one of the cards that the OCG has also had for a really long time. They've got it at 2. If we can just get even 1 copy, I think some people would like it. I mean, it makes for great content in terms of a content creator sack your opponent and just show off certain things. Next up, a lot of people kept on talking about Yatagarasu. It uses up your normal summon. Is it even that viable with all the hand traps these days? I feel like, I mean, yeah, obviously turn 1, Yata does nothing, right? You summon it and it bounces back, that's it. But if you've made a board, I mean, pretty much Yu-Gi-Oh for most people, how it feels, especially against some of the higher tier metas, like you need to have a very powerful board turn 1 or it's a wipe. And is Yata really gonna do that much? I could see this card coming back to 1, and I really don't think that it really impact the game. But let me know, guys, how you feel about any of these down below. These are my opinions, plus like I've also looked at other people's ban list predictions and also been taking consideration the community. But a lot of people want Masterpiece. I'm not a fan too much of seeing these super powerful boss monsters that also have the ability to have that awesome, quick, you know, ability to disrupt something that your opponent does. It's just not that fun to deal with. But at the same time, a lot of people are main decking, you know, a lot of kaijus to answering a lot of the different boss monsters that exist in the game. But I think True Draco, as far as also what's coming out into the game in the future, I don't see anything really big coming out for this. As far as like Pendulum in general goes, if any of these come back to 1, this is probably the most dangerous one in terms of like impacting the game. Or even if we look at Electromite, because a lot of people saw this card was getting reprinted, everyone's like, okay, it's coming back, but it didn't come back. Maybe now is the time. It could be with the more recent ban list coming out. I feel like Electromite, I've never been a fan of Pendulum half-hour long turns, and because Pendulum just really hasn't seen as much play as it did when this card existed. Even when like there was a whole Dragon Pendulum before, like the Rocket Dragon thing became very popular, which is still a pretty decent deck, even though we're not going to be talking too much about that. For the most part, the Pendulum whole archetype, I mean, you could give a Monkey Board, you can give him Plush Fire. Without this card, that like you can't put all of these at 1. I'm just saying like something might happen with Pendulums. This would be like the most fan favorite because it helps out everything. But like some of these maybe could be potential cards to come back. I've been talking about Orcus for a while. This deck really needs help. After we got like the Rushy Bardiche, a lot of people were super excited. That deck had such a bad win rate. A lot of people were excited to go back and play it, and that was me too. I tried. It's just not the same deck without the Mermaid, to be honest. Back when people used to play like the Water Orcus variant, which is an insane deck. Also, Colossus. So in terms of these, like honestly, Harpor could come back to 1. I don't think it would really impact the game an insane amount. It still really helps out their plays for sure to establish a great turn 1 board, but like so many decks can throw out an insane board turn 1. And then we also have Thunder Dragon Colossus. A lot of people want to see this come back. For me, I feel like there's nothing else coming out into the game. There is technically new Dragons and Chaos support. Maybe that's the only potential we have for, like, you know, pushing further product, because I'm taking that into consideration as well. But there is new Pendulum support, so I see this out of like all these cards. Maybe this is the card that has like the biggest potential to come back. But these are the cards that a lot of people wanted to talk about. All right, next up, let's go ahead and go over cards that may be contenders to be banned. I don't know why this Red Eyes is here. That's the wrong card. It's actually Red Eyes Fusion. Let me type this in. Red Eyes Fusion over here. That's what this card actually should be. I just right-clicked them. Oh, you know why? It's because we can't put it over there. Anyways, Red Eyes Fusion. All these cards are cards that a lot of people want to be banned. First off, let me go and explain. So, Imperial Order, I think everyone understands this card. You open up with it, and it just feels wrong, dude. It's like, it's so good. You play against a player that's playing massive amounts of spells. Like, look, if you look at the top decks right now, I mean, you open against Sky Striker, good luck. You can also destroy a lot of different decks with just opening up with the card. I feel like it's one of those cards. It just feels bad to lose to, especially if you're playing a deck like Sky Strikers or just anything, because almost every deck will run spell cards. I don't think there's any deck. You can't even really run like Seconds Light Monster Mash, which we'll talk about. But for the most part, I think everyone can see Imperial Order going away as well. And next thing I want to talk about is Called by the Grave. This card, some people want this card to go up, but remember that we have Crossout Designator coming out sometime, I don't know when, but to push further product, it makes 100% to say Called by the Grave gets banned, and then now Crossout Designator is kind of our replacement for it, right? That makes total sense. Also for Drytron, something could be, you know, banned, limited. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, one of these cards could definitely go away. I think Eva, or even just like put to 1, could definitely happen as well. I mean, Drytron is still one of the more popular decks in the game that still is really good in the competitive scene as well. So yeah, like, I'm not a fan like of dealing with Herald in general, but like this is kind of the problem too. A lot of people want these cards banned. I mean, how often do you see Herald in general? Obviously, yes, it's usually in Drytrons, but like this is not a fun deck to play against. You either destroy them so hard because they didn't set up like, you know, 1,000 cards on their hand so they don't negate every single thing that you do, or they do and then you don't get to play. I don't like the way that the Herald deck is designed in general. Like I said, it's mostly Drytron, but just in general, I've never been a fan of this, so I could totally see this going away. As like, there's no new counter fairy support that I'm aware of that's coming out. There is new fairy support, but it's supposed to be for like the agent stuff, which this doesn't play. You could maybe play Eva in it. I have seen people play it, so that could be their reason for keeping Eva. But again, I'm just trying to take into consideration future product. Mystic Mine is the topic of almost every Yu-Gi-Oh player's mind. They always want this card banned, or some people are like, no, dude, we want to keep this card. For me, there is a newer card that comes out that absolutely destroys it, so for that reason, I don't see them banning it, but I know a lot of people just, they want to see on every ban list discussion, you know, the players' thoughts. For me, I'm not a fan of the idea of non-interaction games. I mean, it's the same thing with the Herald. I mean, regardless of the play style, it's a non-interaction gameplay. But next up, a lot of people still want Dragoon bans. I don't see it really happening. I mean, yeah, they can maybe hit the Red Eyes Fusion, they could hit Verde Anaconda. Any variant of these could be something to consider as well. And also want to mention, some people want AA Zeus banned. 1, guys, the card just came out. 2, it's also getting a reprint. I don't think this is happening at all. I don't even think that they will hit it to 1, not after, you know, they're just recently reprinting it. I don't see it happening, but that's at least my opinion. You guys can let me know how you feel about Zeus, because I feel like at 2, it doesn't really matter. At 1, I mean, it can kind of hurt sales, but for the most part, this card is still very, very powerful. Next up, in terms of like other decks, obviously synchros are going to be coming out that are really powerful, and a lot of them kind of will lock you out of Hulk, but there are a lot of combos that still require it for the newer stuff that's not coming out until 2022. too. So I could see this card getting banned for, you know, reasons of they're going to have other synchro stuff maybe that supports it, but a lot of stuff will lock you into it. But again, you could just go for this first. So this one's like a 50-50. Let me know, guys, how you feel about Hulk in the current format. But a lot of people have been wanting this card gone for so long. For Anaconda, I mean, a lot of people are making the new Destiny Hero Fusion, which is super popular in the OCG. Obviously, if you're playing online, a lot of people are still making it. The card that just keeps on coming back and popped himself. Good stuff indeed. And then a lot of people also, I would say this is a little bit smaller in the community, want something hit with dragons. Because if we hit everything, right, Dragon Rocket variant, or even some of the Dragon Maid decks, they can open up good, but it's not that popular. But I've heard a lot of people want something banned in dragons. I mean, you look at Red MD or Pisty. I mean, that's the last card dragon that we have over here. But those are the only cards that I feel like could be potentially like banned, and it depends on, like, you know, if you hit one of these, that kind of solves the rest, but it doesn't really matter too much what you hit with one of these. Now, cards that could go down to 1 or like 3, this is kind of just a bunch of them here. So like I said before, these cards could get hit, like Eva could go down to 1. Obviously with the Heralds, most people won't really care too much about that, or even 2. Like this is like where I'm going to consider it like limited or a semi-limit as well. So it could be Allosauric Invocation. A lot of people wanted these cards hit for so long, and with Shroud Gates also being very good, Fractar, or there's actually a few cards that you can hit in here, but putting this down to 2, would it really change too much? I mean, this is definitely the combo enabler in that deck, but Revolt is just one of the nastiest cards. Like, surprise, I gotta deal with this extra monster and just special summons any number that are banished, and then you gotta use their effects, like basically again with some of the effects of just going for extra links via using your graveyard as extra cards in your hand. Basically, this card is really nasty. I feel like this is the nastiest card, but like something could be hit. We hit this down to 2, this down to 2. It slows down the deck a little bit, or hitting them down to 1 could definitely be something to consider as well. Same thing with like Invocation, but usually like at the start of a new format, these are like everyone just goes to invoke something, right? Or like Dogmatica invoked and then something as well. I guess like I said, Mystic Mind. So there are new things coming out for the like Winged Beast archetype. There's like the Tri-Lyric Lucina, right? As far as tanky goes, if we go to the OCG over here, we look at that. They hit it to 2. Does it really change that much? I feel like not too much, but like it's at least something that like, okay guys, we took care of Tri Brigade's Kappa. I don't really feel like it's gonna do too much, but at least some people will be happy about it. I honestly feel like Prank Kid is one of the best decks. It's just like not that many people are playing it, but it has an insanely high win rate. If you look at the, you know, any like ranked Yu-Gi-Oh games, this deck is really good. I mean, there's so many like just easy like 1-card combos for the deck. Could this be the card to hit? Could this be the card to hit to 1? I don't think they'll ban any of these. I think that putting them down to like 1 or 2 would slow down the deck just a little bit, because it searches out whatever you need, and like it's just so easy 1-card combos. Then a lot of people did want the Nadir Servant card hit as well. I mean, I don't see anything new that's coming out, but they're also technically reprinting this. Like, what I mean by something new coming out, as in like, is there going to be any more? Actually, there's new Fallen Alba support as well, but like, I don't see anything for specifically this that is like with its like, you know, archetype that is coming out that they need to promote, but it's more so that they are well, technically we don't know the full list of it, but this is one of the cards in one of the sets for the newer tins that it's going to be coming out. So I just don't see it happening, because it has like the list of it. I just remember it's one of these sets. Okay, Nixon Soul, like Phantom Rage, yeah, it's in one of those sets. I turned it Rise of the Duelist. So yeah, it's in one of those sets, so I just don't see it being like completely like banned. But like if they hit it to 2, it would be kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. It's like one of these could go away too. I don't know, like if obviously this would put down to 1. This, I don't know if they would ban this, but it's like one of the other dragon cards that's super generic. They are coming out with newer Blue Eye stuff, and they just announced recently in a newer set that's coming out next year that they will be giving more support to older favorites. So I always think Blue Eyes Dark Magician is like the old favorite decks, but that could be something to maybe hit. I don't know what to hit in dragons. I'm curious to know what you guys would say about that down below. Some people want something hit with Sky Strikers because it's still really powerful, and it's like, what else is coming out for Sky Strikers? So if they get rid of Engage and then put like multi-roll to, let's say, 2, or if they even hit Ray, I don't know what they would really hit in Sky Strikers at this point to make the deck like super unplayable, other than just smack out the Engage. But like, this card is so incredibly good, even though if it's at 1, like they use this card like 50 times a duel, which is absolutely ridiculous considering, oh, it's at 1, right? but like without this card, the deck does not play correctly. So I don't know. You take this away, you definitely kill it. You put this down to 2 or even 1. That's pretty nasty too. But nonetheless, what would you hit in Sky Strikers if you had to hit something? All right, so Salaman Great, looking at how they've been performing, Salaman Great still has a pretty decent win percent considering it's still like a relatively popular meta deck over here. By the way, this website only uses like ranked, so it might not take in consideration people that are just trying the deck for the first time. Most people that are playing Salaman Great probably have been playing it for a long time. I mean, as far as I'm aware of, there's no new Salaman Great support coming out, so I could see this going and staying exactly the same. Some people are like, dude, just put it to 2 to make the deck better. I think the deck's okay where it's at. That's at least my thought. So I think it's okay keeping it limited over there. Like I said, this card could be on the potential list. Also, Beatrice is another contender that's at 1 right now to get banned. It just depends on what you hit with Drytron, because this card is pretty insane as well for a lot of different combos. A lot of different decks can use this, and it does facilitate a few FTKs and OTKs in the game. But the last thing that I want to go mention here, this is like the only card that's at 2 that I want at 3 for not only personal reasons, but they are coming out with new hero stuff, all right, and that makes total sense, right? So I could see Mally going back to 3, and with the Nemesis, you know, combos, it's good. And another thing is Sekka's Light could definitely go to 3. Maybe even Dragonic Diagram, if obviously you can't have Masterpiece at the same time as this 3, but like I have not been seeing that many people play this deck and do super well with it, at least within the past few weeks here. But technically this could be a card that maybe can go up to 2 as well. But yeah, Sekka's Light and Mally I think could be at 3, or like Sekka's Light at 2. Like the point, like there's no way that like no one's gonna play just play like 1 Sekka's Light. Like come on, at least 2, or put it to 3. Like it's kind of one of those cards, right? The last cards over here are the wild cards, cards that like if they, you know, they come back. You know, we've had Snatch Steal come back into the game. People are like, what the heck is going on, right? Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes likes to throw in those wild cards, as in cards that get us really excited, and like, you know, these classic Yu-Gi-Oh cards like Change of Heart is insane. Obviously Snatch Steal would be insane. Spellbook of Judgment would be absolutely insane as well. I think a lot of people would be super hyped up to try it out, and I'm curious to know, would it actually be super powerful this day and age? I actually haven't really seen anyone even play like Yu-Gi-Oh with Spellbook of Judgment in so long. I don't know how that deck would really fare up. Like it is an insane card, but remember that it's during the end phase you're going to be adding those cards. Is that really fast enough to keep up with today's meta? Let me know. But then I also think like Zen Matey, this could be a contender as well as another like, whoa, I did not expect that, because like I said, I like throwing in these wild cards for ideas, as I think it makes it kind of entertaining. But if you guys have any other crazy wild cards for like predictions, even though these are like so crazy out there, I doubt these will come back, but I mean, the Snatch Steal came back. They made Spellbook of Judgment. Anything is possible if you believe in the heart of the cards. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap up the video. Let me know, guys, what your thoughts are down below. If you felt like I missed out on any interesting points of discussion, let me know down below. But anyways, thanks for tuning, guys. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new, do you want to see more new Yu-Gi-Oh content? And when the ban list drops, I will drop the video ASAP when it does come out. I'm thinking it's October, but, you know, we could have waited a little bit longer because of, you know, the release of the tins. But anyways, take care, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. And I'm out. Peace.